America's back, baby.
Dude, I should have pulled the clip from our last show where it's like there's 8 different exit doors for him here. Like all he's got to do is take one of them and he'll be a hero. Like everybody will think he's a genius. And I'm glad he did it. I really didn't think he was gonna. First of all, if anybody's been living under a rock, today Trump paused the tariffs for almost everybody. From what I understand, the USMCA, the stuff with Mexico and Canada, is still on. That's like 25% tariff on cars and some other stuff. Those are still on, and apparently those are the reason those are still on is because he claimed that was a national emergency because of fentanyl. So if he agreed to pause it, then they could be like, well, hold on, like I thought this was a fentanyl thing. So he kind of has to keep those in place. And then the only country he left a tariff on, I'm trying to remember. It's somebody we don't buy a lot from, right? Who's that one country that he left tariffs on? Oh yeah,
Oh,
oh yeah, China. That's the one. China, where we get almost nothing from. So, did you hear what the new tariff amount, because he's mad at them again for retaliating? So, did you hear what the amount we're tariffing them effective immediately is?
no, I have no idea.
125%.
Okay.
So, and also, just for the record, it's like 7 a.m. in China right now. Like he pretty much paused the tariffs and raised theirs to 125% at like 11 p.m. their time, maybe midnight. So, like, most of them have been asleep for the past 8 hours, and now they're gonna wake up to the news that A, he paused it with everybody but us, and B, it's now 120. So they're gonna retaliate probably further.
Okay.
They've been saying for the last couple weeks, I guess like last week, that there's certain products that we only get from them. Like there's only one place to get it, and it's them. And they're basically saying like we realize that, and we have the power to basically screw you and just not let you have those products. So at any point they could turn off the switch on certain products. And like I saw a list.
iPhones?
No, I saw a list of the items, and it was like common household. A lot of it was just not anything that you think of, but then all of a sudden you start thinking about it, it's like, oh yeah, if we couldn't get those, that would kind of suck. But it's nothing major. It's just little stuff that
Yeah.
would be an inconvenience. Um,
Hmm.
anyhow, take a guess for. Okay, first of all, people were predicting, oh, these will be on for a week. They might be on for a month or two. They might be on for 3 to 6 months. Like it was, everybody knew they weren't going to last forever, but everybody was guessing how long they'd be on for. I said it'd be a while. I think you actually said you thought they'd be over within like a week. Is that right?
Yeah. I believe so, yeah.
Did you see how long he left the tariffs in place?
I said by the end of the week. That's what I said. It wasn't even like 24 hours, was it?
It was 13 hours.
13
Yeah.
hours. Okay.
So I feel like an idiot because I was like, I think they're going to be on for a couple months. Like I really thought that.
Well,
Uh,
apparently it's because the bond yield dropped because Japan was selling all of our bonds.
so
Um,
we're going to get to that in a second and why that's important, but hold off on that for a second. Real quick, on Monday there was a tweet that like spiked the market temporarily, and the tweet said, "Oh look, it looks like Trump is about to do a 90-day pause on the tariffs," and like it had a video of I can't remember the guy's name. His name's like Hassett or something, and he was doing an interview on the White House lawn. And if you watch the video, he never actually said that in the video, but the person who tweeted it was like, this guy just said there's going to be a 90-day pause, and the market spiked temporarily. And then when the White House said, no, 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 we're not, and then it went back down and kept falling. Um, Everybody's saying now that we talked about it a couple different times, but Trump likes to do trial balloons to see what would happen. And the account that tweeted it is one of those accounts on Twitter that like you would swear like Elon, or like Elon's amplifying and it's a total trash account. Like it was one of those accounts. They're saying it might have been a trial balloon. Like they threw it out there to see how the markets would react if we were to do a 90-day pause. And that was a trial balloon by the White House. I don't know if that's true or not. They could have just,
what was the tweet that he sent out? Like, right now is a good time to buy into the stock
we're
market.
going to get to that in a minute. Hold on, you're jumping ahead. So
You,
I got videos lined up for tonight. I got too many of them. But immediately when they announced it, every advisor, Lutnick and Bissett and Hassett and whatever that guy's name is, they all came out and immediately were like, "This was genius by him. Trump got China to overplay their hand, and now he has them just where he wants them." And then Bissett actually said, "Like, oh no, we met in on Sunday in Mar-a-Lago, and like this has been the plan all along. Like Sunday, we decided that Wednesday we were gonna pause it on everybody else and get China." And so they were saying, what great leadership. And, this was a great game of chess that Donald Trump won.
yeah, he's a
First of all,
hero. He's an American
BS.
hero.
BS. Real quick, they spent an hour and a half roughly like going on every channel and saying the same version of that story. And then Trump comes out to do some event on the White House lawn where he had like Indy cars and NASCARs and like former racing champions. I don't really know what the event was. But of course he comes out to talk to the camera. Um, Go ahead and check this out real quick. This I can't remember what channel this was on.
And then just a few hours later, there was a pause put in on the tariffs. Can you walk us through what you were thinking about why you decided to put a 90-day pause?
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions.
Okay, so
What does he mean by yippee?
they were getting scared. People were dumping stocks and bonds, which we're going to talk about bonds in a second. But they spent all day saying, that Trump, this was the plan since Sunday. He great strategy by him. And then he finally comes out and they say flat out, like, what made you decide to do the pause? And he goes, people were getting scared. People were getting a little. It was a sell off happening. Now, you already said this, but not only was the stock market falling, and normally when the stock market falls, people move their money into treasury bonds, the bond market, because that's you're not going to there's what is it, lower chance to make a lot of money, but it's secure. Like you're definitely going to slowly earn, but there's no it's what do they call that? Like low risk, low reward, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but
So T-bills and
yeah,
bonds.
treasury bond, all kinds of bonds, but treasury bonds are a part of that. So normally the correlation is as the stock market falls, the treasury bond goes up. So the bond market. Um,
Gold. For some
yeah.
reason, gold
So
goes
what
up.
happened last night, and there's people that have this theory that Trump's intentionally trying to crash the market in order to get interest rates lowered so he can then refinance our debt at a cheaper rate, thus cutting the national debt in half or whatever it might be. And it's
Okay.
one of those where it's like, that hurt. It sucks to hurt so many people just to do that, but okay, that's an idea. But the bond market, if that starts to, there's called high yields. I don't even want to act like I get how these markets work, but I woke up this morning and that's what everybody was talking about right off the bat is overnight some stuff happened in the bond market. It looks like, and I think you even said it, but what country does it look like screwed Trump on this?
Japan.
Japan. So, and everybody thought it must have been China because China owns a lot of our debt, but it was Japan. And it looks like they did it just from a standpoint of, hey, I don't trust the U.S. economy right now. Maybe we should get this money out of there and put it somewhere else. Like that was, there's
Yeah.
probably, apparently Greece is according to all the credit bureaus, Greece is a safer bet to park your money in their treasury bills than America right now. It
Oh
has
wow.
a lot of that has to do with our debt. But so we wake up this morning and there are high yields in the bond market, which is apparently oh shit moment. Like people at the White House are freaking out at this point because if the bond market gets too low, that raises interest rates. So everything from mortgages, car loans, credit cards, and then importantly, we have to refinance 10 million or 10 what is it, $10 trillion of our debt here in like 2 or 3 months. So if the rates spike before that, now we're refinancing that ten trillion at a much higher rate. So that right off the bat, I saw a lot of people that said, like, we're saying up Trump is going to do something today. Like that can't happen. Like this is the worst nightmare when they're trying to play this game is that the bond market starts to fail. Um, so anyhow, what are your thoughts? Was this a courageous game of chess where they knew all along they were going to pause him now, or the bond market scared the heck out of Trump?
I think the bond market scared the heck out of Trump. This is,
Yeah.
I think he's got, I mean, I don't know what he's doing. I have no idea. I mean, we've speculated that all he really wants to do is get tax cuts for the rich, right? And it's terrifying that he can actually like control the market just with a tweet.
Have you seen that there's now people calling for investigations? Because apparently, and I've seen some graphs that show this, I don't know how they figure all this out, but 10 minutes before the announcement went out that they were doing a 90-day pause, calls for trades to the New York Stock Exchange just spiked, like went through the roof 10 minutes before the announcement. So there were people that, for whatever reason, 10 minutes before said this is a great time to buy. Now, Trump 2 hours before did a tweet where he said this is a great time to buy explanation points like but then 2 hours go by nothing really changes on Wall Street and then 10 minutes before the announcement there's a spike. So whether that's Trump knowingly leaking to people or maybe just somebody in Trump's circle because he's got a bunch of Wall Street guys in there. So how easy would it be for them to kind of make a call, send a text,
Totally.
and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
buy up, like we're about to do this."
Guaranteed everybody in his administration, including all of the Congress, like they all know what's going on ahead of time. And so they're all just buying and selling, just insider trading.
The problem is, who investigates that? Do the states or does the federal government? Does the Securities and Exchange, which is
That's true.
that's run by Trump. So the thing is, if there was some screwery there, like I don't think there'll be an investigation unless somehow, like, because the stock exchange is in New York, so therefore New York has some authority to do something at the state level. Like, that's all I could really think. Like, if it's the government that has to investigate it, yeah, good luck
Yeah.
on that.
So is that the Securities and Exchange? Is that one of the ones that Trump actually took over, like, and claimed
I would
himself like the president of?
I would bet. I can't remember at this point. I know there were so many, like the FCC, probably the SEC. Oh, like he installed his people at, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's not happening. So, by the way, I don't have anything more to say on this, but I just saw tonight that apparently, like, there is a federal watchdog inspector general that is now auditing Doge, and
Hmm.
the people are saying it's because of the way they handled classified sensitive material, like our information, and I guess they were putting it on hard drives and stuff you should never do. Um,
Oh yeah.
but there is some kind of an audit slash investigation of Doge that's about to happen, apparently.
Is
I
it
don't have
run
much.
by Trump?
The inspector generals are supposed to be independent, and the fact that they even like if Trump had any hand in this, he wouldn't have let this even start.
Yeah.
So now there's a good chance Trump might fire this inspector general. Like I said, this I just saw this breaking tonight, so who knows what's happening here.
But
But
did you see
anyhow,
Elon win against Trump? He's going against Trump on
Elon went
this?
against Navarro, so hold off on that because that's a good one. Real quick, going back to the tariffs, he said the only reason that China was still getting their tariffs is because um, they are the only ones that retaliated. He told everybody don't retaliate, and he said China's the only one that did. Well, the EU retaliated this morning. They did a vote with all the European nations and decided they were going to retaliate, and it came out at like 8 a.m. our time that they voted to do it. And then like an hour later, they said it was going to be a 25% tariff on. This is strategic. They're being like Canada. They're trying to hit like businesses that are Republican or Trump allies. So it
Yeah.
was 25% on almonds, orange juice, poultry, soybeans, steel and aluminum, and yachts. I don't know why the yachts were. But
For the
apparently
billionaires.
that was like they picked little pinpoints to target to that are like Trump supporting
Well,
whatever.
almonds are California, so that would be like a red blue
But
state.
you got to remember the whole like interior of California is deep red, like
Yeah.
deep red. Like that's where like what was that guy's name? Oh man, the it's gonna kill me. Anyhow, he was one of the congressmen that was like a huge Trump supporter the first time, and then I think he left and he's like one of the higher ups at DJT Media now. I can't
Huh.
remember that guy's name. It's gonna kill me. Anyhow, so they did that this morning. They voted to retaliate. They announced what it would be, and then 2 or 3 hours later, he says, "Up, I'm positive for everybody except China because they retaliated." Well, the EU retaliated too, so I was kind of confused about that. After Trump's front lawn deal with the race car drivers, he then has a deal in the the Oval Office a little bit later. Check out this clip from Fox and tell me what you think.
Mr. President, the EU also announced increases in tariffs today. Why not treat?
Bad timing for them. That's bad timing.
Why not
They
treat
said
them
They didn't put them in. No, they threatened
Oh,
them,
I
but they
think-
picked a later date, which our expectation is it's going to be later still.
Okay, good. I'm glad that they held back.
I hate that guy.
Yeah, that's Howard Lutnick. So, but real quick, did you get the impression there? Because they asked Trump, "Hey, why is EU not getting this?" And Trump seemed to not know that the EU had voted to do that. And he turned to Lutnick, and Lutnick was like, "Ah, well, no, they kind of said it, but like they weren't going to do it anytime soon." I get the impression that that the people around Trump did not tell Trump that they had done that. Like I think
I
that
don't think they're telling him a lot of things. I think they're telling him what to do, and that's about it.
Well, what's weird is I really thought that like, oh, I thought he was lying. At first when I heard that he denied that he knew anything about it, I was like, oh, he's full of shit. Like he knew. But then after I saw the clip, it was like I kind of get the sense there that he really like the way he turned to them, the way he turned, I could see him being that good of a liar to act like he doesn't know. But Lutnick is what gave it away because Lutnick like almost turned red and was like, "Oh well, they kind of announced it, but they weren't going to do it for a while." And I think it was actually going to be a lot further down the line. Like he was backpedaling there, like he looked a little panicked. Makes me think
Are they
that he.
hanging on to it? Are they still going to give us the tariffs, or
I guess not. I don't know. I haven't heard that part yet. I'm gonna guess not. So anyhow, um,
So it's such a weird trick to play on these people. So we're going to tariff everybody, and then we're not going to tell them the rules of the game. But if you didn't retaliate, we're
so in,
going to take the tariffs off.
that's what's dumb is so all afternoon and evening I'm having to watch the Trump surrogates, and they're like, Trump played this so perfectly. He has China overplayed their hand, and now they are isolated from the world. It's America and everybody else against China, and Trump did all this to unite the world with America to go after China. That's that's the vibe that they're setting out. Now, here's the thing that I'm gonna say no. There's no way that's what's going on. And the reason is it's not that I don't think Trump's smart enough to come up with that or anything. You didn't have to do that. We already had trade agreements with everybody and we were isolating China. And if we wanted to say, hey, we're really gonna stick it to China right now, all we had to do was just be like, hey, everybody, this is what we're gonna do. You're with us, and they were already with us. The whole thing we did to them was unnecessary to get them to be on our side against China. They were already there. It makes no
Yeah,
sense. Like
we
he
pretty much made them against us now, and they're probably more likely to go with China
well,
after
and
all this
so
bullshit anyway.
Spain is apparently like talking about like fully aligning with China and dropping the dollar as its current or as it's what they trade in or what I can't remember the whole deal with that.
Huh.
Anyhow, but here's what's going to happen is even if these governments sign little good trade deals with us, apparently in most of these countries there are don't buy American movements. Like whatever you like if there's another version of it, buy that, don't buy American. Like they don't like us and they want to punish us by not buying our products. So like even if we go to 0% tariffs with all these nations, a lot of them we're not going to sell near as much as we used to because they hate us. That's the reality of the situation. So, um,
Crazy.
Jamie Dimon was on Fox with Maria Bartiromo this morning, and he's the CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase. And he said, I think it's more likely than not that we see a recession soon. I think we're already in a recession with all these tariffs. Like, the inflation's going to go up. Like, very gloom and doom. Um, One of the things they asked Trump this afternoon, they asked him if he had heard about that, and he's like, "Oh no, I watched that." And then he tried to spin it and say that Jamie Dimon said a lot of really nice things about him and that the trade war was a good idea. And Jamie Dimon, I watched the whole thing. Jamie Dimon didn't say any of that, but it totally that just re-solidifies that like it was the bond market crashing. Like I think he could have withstood the market staying down, or as long as the market didn't really tank. If it just kept losing a little bit each day, I think he would have dealt with that. I think he was fine there. I think the bond market crashing, he might not even know what that really means in terms of how it's going to hurt everybody and himself, but I think the people around him knew and had to convince him this has to be stopped.
Yeah. Do you think the bond market still going to crash? Like, if Japan's still dumping our bonds, then
I don't know.
we're going to be in trouble still.
Yeah, and China hasn't started dumping our bonds yet, and China is who owns the majority of it. Like, apparently Japan didn't own a huge percentage of it. They just sold everything they had, which made it spike, and that sent off alarm bells to everybody in the Treasury Department this morning. It was oh shit
Hmm.
all around. Um, when it comes to just a trade war with China, the problem is, and there all the Republicans right now are saying like, oh, they're at the disadvantage. Like we are the consumer, we buy the majority of their goods. Like without us, nobody's going to buy their goods. Like so, we have the leverage in this. I disagree. I think that we do what they just said is true, but at the same time, like their people over there are geared up and like wired to like listen to the government and like endure hardships. Like if they have to go through some hardships to beat us in a trade war, like their people will not break. Whereas we are a bunch of whiny bitches. Like I hate to say it, but like if times get tight for us, also Trump has to get, or he doesn't have to get reelected, but the midterms are in a year and a half to and another election 2 years after that. Like these guys are always trying to get reelected. In China, I think it's every 10 years. So President Xi is set for like 7 or 8 more years or something like that. So like he doesn't have an election coming up. He's not worried about his favorability rating. Like
No.
yeah, so if this goes to the mat, the false confidence I'm seeing right now with Republicans, like, oh, we have all the leverage, like we are going to dominate China in this trade war. Like I think they're willing to feel the pain more than we are. Is all I'm going to say, and I think they know that, and I think just watching what needed to happen today, Japan or China now knows that if things get nasty enough, make the bond markets fail. Like that's the move, and that will make Trump
Yeah.
squirm.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
that showed our Achilles heel today to a certain degree.
Mhm.
So, but economists do still say that we're more likely to see a recession than not. Uh, China's going to whoop our butt. I don't think they're going to whoop our butt. I think this will get resolved, but I think both countries are going to experience some hurt because neither leader, Xi is not going to back down to Trump, and Trump is not going to back down to Xi. We're like in one of these just crappy situations. So it comes
No,
down to
Trump only bounced down to Putin.
it really comes down to what population has the fortitude to withstand pain. Who do you got in that fight?
Oh, China.
Yeah, I
China's,
mean, like I said,
China's got it.
we're a bunch
We
of
don't
white.
like pain in America.
Yeah, it's bad. So anyhow, GOP revolt in the House. I saw that tweeted all kinds of times today. I love the overreaction when one side says something a little like there's some infighting on one side, and the other side's like, "Oh, they're tearing themselves apart," and it's like, no, two people are having an argument. That's kind of what happened in the House. But apparently, I don't know who this guy is. Congressman Steube, Steube. In a closed door meeting today, apparently, he screamed at Mike Johnson, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." There's not video of it. Apparently,
Video?
it's not being denied at all. Like apparently, as soon as this meeting was over, a lot of Republicans ran out and told reporters about it because like everybody heard about it. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. That got shouted at Mike Johnson by a Republican today. The only video we have to corroborate the story. Real quick, check this out.
Mr. Speaker, I'm ready to yield. I'm ready to debate one-on-one on this House floor, and I promise not to rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
So that was like an hour after the story broke. So he said that on the Congress floor, and everybody in the room chuckled. And according to reporters that were there, like it wasn't just the Democrats chuckling; it was even the Republicans. So that's not being denied. I'm just going to go ahead and say Congressman Mike or House Speaker Mike Johnson got rebuked in the name of Jesus. I will say this. This was something kind of scary. The House Republicans right now in the Senate, they're trying to pass a bill to basically take back tariff authority from Trump. Okay. They have 51 votes to where they could do it. There's 4 or 5 Republicans that have switched sides and will vote with the Dems. There's not enough in the House, but the thing is, even if they did, Trump would have the chance to veto it at that point, and then they could override his veto, but they would need 2/3 of the House and the Senate, and that's never going to happen. So,
Whoa.
yeah. So, but just because that's being mentioned, Republicans were trying to. I never understand how this works, but they were trying to put into the rule of the budget, whatever that is, that they wanted to. I want to get the wording right here. The rule for the reconciliation budget to eliminate any challenge from Congress on tariffs till September. So I guess September is when the fiscal year ends. So they basically
Okay.
wanted to officially give Trump all the authority on, like, we can't even challenge you. And that might still happen. Now that the 90-day tariff pause has happened, they might just drop that altogether. But they were trying to put that into the rule, and that was really pissing off the left. I never heard anybody on the right say anything bad about it. Trump Trump was threatening GOP members. He spoke at some dinner last night, which I've got a clip from in a minute. But it was like the National Republican Congressional Dinner or something. And it was normally the president goes up at those and does like 5 to 10 minutes and kind of thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Blah, blah, blah. 5 to 10 minute stops. Trump went for an hour 30. He did his full on. He did his full-on campaign rally. It was pretty dope.
He misses those campaigns so bad.
Yeah, I saw a lot of clips from it. It was on the Right Side Broadcast Network, RSBN, and I don't even know how to watch that. But I saw clips from it galore today.
But he went off on the Republicans?
Yeah, so he was because there's all this talk that they might challenge him on tariff authority, and he was basically saying like, "Oh, these guys in Congress, you don't want them to do it. They don't know how to negotiate. I know how to negotiate. I wrote the art of the deal." Like that was kind of his whole. But he's back to threatening now that if anybody does vote against that, he's gonna make sure they get primaried and blah blah blah. So, but he's trying to impose his will over the GOP, which the GOP is scared right now because all this recession talk, like if the economy is in a recession leading up to the midterms, the House definitely flips. Like I think it's a strong chance the House flips as is, But if there's problems in the economy, that's what sank Biden. That's what could sink Republicans in the midterm. So right now, a lot of them that just 2 weeks ago were not even thinking about like not siding with Trump, like they had his back all the way. Suddenly, with talks of a recession, they're looking out for number one. They need to get reelected, and they want to be able to show that no, 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 I tried to do something to help the economy, I just couldn't get it done, or whatever it is. So it could be
So
some,
so tariffs had to go through Congress before, and
but not
then
not for the past several years. Like, not it's not. This isn't just a Trump thing. Like, Congress
oh
has been slowly just giving up its responsibility on a lot of things because they don't want to do it. They don't want to. They don't want to have the responsibility of it. So they've let the president and the courts do a lot of what they should be doing. Like, same-sex marriage and abortion and all that shouldn't be decided by the Supreme Court. That's something Congress should pass a bill on, and the president should sign, and that will be what's what. But they just don't even want to try, and they're honestly happy to let the courts and the president do it because then they don't have to mess with those sticky issues.
yeah, because they won't get reelected if they actually.
Well, and like for Republicans, 90% of them are totally fine with doing a vote on abortion. Like they're like, let's do it. But the speaker always knows that, hey, this is going to put 10% of y'all in a precarious situation where if you say it, you might lose your purple district. So like they're always protecting their vulnerable members from having to take a vote on this. Because
Yeah.
anyhow, oh, last thing real quick. Going all the way back to the tariffs. The other thing besides the bond market that might have made Trump cave on the tariffs, apparently because of all this, oil prices have fallen over the last 3 or 4 days, like which is great for us gas wise. But when there's a recession coming, oil prices fall. The what is it called? The Russian I don't think I put the name of it down, but whatever the Russian oil, there's a company that owns all their oil. Their prices and their stock were tanking. Apparently, if it falls below $50 a barrel, like that's the end of their economy. Like things start to collapse quickly at that point. And it had fallen to like $53 a barrel. And like Trump right now is trying to not upset. He says publicly he's trying not to upset their economy or them because he's trying to work out a peace deal. So this morning, not only do we have the bond markets high yields, whatever that means, but also suddenly the Russian, like the Kremlin, is in full panic because the price of their oil has dropped so low, and that's the only way they're staying afloat right now is through selling oil. So
Yeah. See, he has different tactics for different people. Like he goes shock and awe on everybody else except for Putin. With
yeah,
Putin, if you want him to come to the negotiating table, like tank his economy and be like, hey,
yeah.
like that
Well,
seems to be the way he's doing with everybody else. Why does he want to do that with Putin?
he almost accidentally tanked their economy by starting this trade war because I don't think that anybody told him like, hey, this could also hurt because we didn't put any tariffs on Russia, so he must have thought everything is fine. But no, like just the price of oil dropping is what was really killing him. So
Do you think the golden shower tapes are real?
no, I
What do you think
I
it is? What do you think it is?
Oh, I think that Trump and his sons have both said a bunch that like in the what was it the late 80s, early 90s when he went bankrupt and all that, like a lot of their money that they used to then come back and get back on their feet came from Russia. Like they've said that in interviews. Like a lot of their finance, and then there's nothing illegal about that. But
Yeah.
then you look at like okay, like there was some bank like it wasn't the Deutsche Bank, some bank that's like an offshore kind of shady bank that like manages the loans and the money he got from Russia. And apparently Robert Mueller the first time was trying to subpoena that bank for certain financial records about his loans, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. It was a big deal, and like he couldn't get those records like that. They wouldn't
Huh.
let him get those records. But there's something goofy there where it's always one of those where it probably isn't anything fantastical. They don't have any P tape or anything like that. It's probably like, oh, he owes them a lot of money and they're being cool about it right now. Or maybe he did take some money in ways that wasn't quite legal back in the day and they're blackmailing with that. Like, it could be anything. Like, I think if you're going to get compromise on Trump, like, you don't have to do the whole golden shower thing. Like, it's money. Like, you bribe him to do some
Yeah.
things and then you have that compromise on him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
probably, honestly, I'd apply that to most politicians. Like there was real quick, there was what was it called? The Amcare Amtrak Amway. I think Amway. Sometime read about it was a investigation into politicians. I think it was Amway, and they set up a hidden camera. It's the movie with man. I'm just rambling. The movie with Amy Adams and who's the English guy that talks really he talks like an American. He was Batman.
Who was Batman? Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I
Um,
can't.
Bale.
Yeah, Christian Bale. The movie's called American Hustle or something like that. But this movie's
Oh
about
yeah.
this. So it's about that time. But they set up hidden cameras in hotel rooms and just brought congressmen in one after the other and offered them a bribe to do something. And like 99 out of 100 did. The one guy that didn't was just like, I couldn't possibly take a bribe and I'm offended and like got up and left. But other than that, 99 of them were like, yes, like give me the money and I'll do what you want. So I don't think that's a Trump specific
Like
problem.
what Israel does to our politicians.
Exactly. But Israel's in trouble right now. So you know how we've talked a couple different times about just everything happening with Israel right now in Gaza, and then the way the Trump administration is going after people that are supportive of the Palestinians. Like it's hurting Israel. Like the public sentiment for Israel is not good. Apparently, for the first time like ever in the history, I guess in like the last 100 years, um, people have a like the majority of people have a negative view of Israel. Like it's like 54%, I think. But that's big. Like just 2 or 3 months ago, like it was only like 40% of people had a negative view, and now that's all the way up to 54. So the tide is turning on Israel, and it's happening simply because of like on the left, there's the whole anti-Zionist movement, but then on the right, you've got like Candace Owens going around just preaching about how the Jews control America and this and that. So like it's happening on both sides and it's moving towards the center. Like both extremes don't like Israel and it's creeping in to where I don't know.
Okay.
I think only the
Well, they've
people.
done some good messaging because for some reason I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like, well, Israel, I mean, both sides are at fault there. And it's sure, okay.
Yeah.
Hamas did one strike and Israel
No,
has
no.
been bombing
So
for
Hamas didn't just do one strike. I mean, let's be clear. Hamas for the past 20 years or so has been locked in Gaza, but every chance they get, they just fire unguided missiles out of Gaza and into the cities around there, like as often as they possibly. It's an ongoing thing. Like that just happens. But it's you try to go back and figure out like who started it, and it's like I don't know who started it, but I know that for a long period of time, the Palestinians and the Jews both lived there, and there was no problem. Like, this is what a lot of people don't understand this. Before the U.S., and it's really Britain more than anything, made Israel the Jewish state, like, that area was populated by, like, basically little communities of Palestinians and Jews, and they were getting along just fine. Like, everything was good. And then the Balfour Declaration, they basically said, okay, we're going to make Israel home to all the Jews. And they started like shuffling the Palestinians to like little remote pockets. And like, here, this is still your land, but the majority of this is Jewish. And had we not touched that place, they were getting along fine and they would have kept getting along fine. Like there was no issue.
Okay.
Isn't that
Okay.
sad?
That is very sad.
Yeah. So anyhow, we're back to a 10% tariff on everybody. But I don't know if I told you that. He paused the trade wars, but you know how he said that there's a baseline 10% tariff? There's still a 10%
Um,
tariff on every country in the world, including the
oh,
one
interesting.
including the one with just the penguins. Like that's
Okay.
still on the list.
He's still taxing the penguins.
So 10% on everyone, which is what he ran on. And let's do a little reminder for everybody at home because this whole thing real quick where everybody's saying oh, well, this is what they voted for. They knew he was going to do this, and, they still voted for it, so he's following the mandate. I'm going to remind you of a little moment on ABC here.
Has a plan that I call the Trump sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries.
Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years.
So he said over and over, and it wasn't just then, but they kept saying, well, sir, the tariffs are going to raise prices. No, the prices are going to go down on day one is what he kept saying. And now when people are talking about the pain with the tariffs and the price could go up, and he says, hey, there's going to be some pain for a while, but the people knew this. This is what they voted for. No. The people that voted for him truly thought that he was on day one, he was bringing all the prices down. And now they're trying to do a switcheroo and be like, no, no, no. He said all along that there might be some pain. No, he waited till after the election, during that period between the election and the inauguration. And that's when he started saying there could be some short-term pain. Like,
I think Elon came out with that first, right?
I think Elon was the first to say it. I want to sidetrack us again. I couldn't find a good video of this. I wanted to so bad, but they were all like heavily edited with a lot of text over it. But Elon, like 2 nights ago, decided to hop on and play one of those games where it's like live
Oh
streamed.
yeah.
And the computer shot is like just like yours. It's like from under the computer screen looking up at him and he's just staring there playing. And it's almost like there's kind of strobe lights ish behind him. It's probably the screen in front of him. And there's anyhow, the comment section you can see at the bottom of the screen. And dude, I felt bad for Elon. Like I really did. At one point I was like, y'all stop picking on Elon. Like for real. Like they were just oh, it was relentless. They
I
kept
mean,
telling him, go ahead,
that's his base. I mean, the video gamers, that's like his
dude.
base. Like,
What the funniest one was they said that they wanted him to give Trump a hand job so he would have a heart attack and die. I don't know why, like that. But like at one point they were just posting like over and over, over and over. It just kept coming in, and it was like, "You have no friends and you're gonna die alone," or it was just stuff like that. And it was like it was funny for. And at one point at the beginning when it started to happen, Elon was like, "Oh, if you're gonna be like this, I'm just gonna block you all." And he was trying to go through and block one at a time, and like they were coming through faster than he could block it. So it's, at one point, he just turned up like techno music and just played the game and ignored the chat thing. But like it looked like he was, he didn't start crying, but it looked like he was watering up. And like I for real felt bad for Elon. Like at a certain point, I was like, guys, knock it off. Like the man's had enough. Things aren't going well
no,
right
keep
now.
it up, man. Keep it up.
Oh, it was so scary to see.
And apparently he's not very good at gaming. He's actually horrible at it.
I saw that where he apparently whatever level he is would mean he's had to have played this game a whole bunch and he's at a really high level. But then he
Yeah.
actually played it, and a bunch of people that play the game were like, he didn't know what he was doing. Like he apparently it's common for people to have somebody else play it for you to get you up to a certain level.
It's
Like
common.
people will pay people that they've never met. This is like all through the internet. Like you would pay like
Huh.
apparently playing this one game is not fun unless you're at a certain level where you have all the weapons or armor or whatever it might be. So people
Okay.
like will find, I'm guessing on Reddit or 4chan, will like find someone and pay them to play the game and get their character to a certain level and then take it
Huh.
over because now their character's good and they can play. Anyhow, Elon probably had somebody do that. Probably one of his guys. Elon's got all these like 20-year-old dudes around him that are like tech bros, and one of them probably did it. Anyhow, so 10% tariff on everybody. Let's make sure we got this right. 10% on everybody, 125% on China. Now,
Okay.
Trump made one statement last night at that Republican dinner that really caught my attention, and it seems like he's done a lot of dumb things, but it seems like one of the dumbest things. And I almost didn't include it today because I was like, oh, because he paused the tariffs, this probably isn't happening more. But no, when he was in the Oval Office, they asked him about it, and he said, oh, no, that's still happening. So, real quick, check this out.
We're going to tariff our pharmaceuticals, and once we do that, they're going to come rushing back into our country because we're the big market. The advantage we have over everybody is that we're the big market. So we're going to be announcing very shortly a major tariff on pharmaceuticals, and when they hear that, they will leave China, they will leave other places because they have to sell. Most of their product is sold here.
So 25% tariff on pharmaceuticals. And apparently, a lot of like insulin and stuff like that is made overseas. So
Yeah.
the price of insulin thing I hear about all the time. But like our state, like, what is it for cholesterol or blood pressure or whatever, all the medication people are on, he wants to tariff at 25%. And he said that last night and then he paused the tariff. So I was like, oh, let me take that video out because we're not going to talk about. No, they asked him flat out, hey, are you still going to do the pharmaceutical tariff? He said, oh, yeah, we have to do it. Now, he has some
We
points
have
because
to.
hold on, he has some real points because he said today in the Oval Office, he said during COVID we learned that like not just our medicine but also our PPE and whatnot comes from overseas. So yes, we do need it. We should not be offshoring those kind of things. Like we need to have that for those situations. But the way
But
you
again, let's build those factories first before
Yeah.
we start.
100%. You give some incentive to get companies to move over here, and you tell them that, hey, we're going to do tariffs in a year or 2 years or whatever it is. So start building your factory now because I'm not joking about these tariffs. Whatever. You don't just throw a random 25% on and say, well, you better move back here as fast as you can. I don't know anything about pharmaceuticals, but let's just say prescription drugs. I don't think that's something they can like pop up overnight. Like, I think that's something that is going to take a little
No.
while to build.
It's going to take a little while to do that.
Yeah. So, all right. While the trade war was going on still on Monday and Tuesday and the market was falling, did you see anything about so we we had Bill Ackman went after Howard Lutnick, and he called out Howard Lutnick and said, "Well, his firm's long on bonds, so of course they're trying to crash the stock market because if they do and people go over to bonds, he's going to make out like a bandit." Howard Lutnick took great exception to that and like shot back. So there were these wars over like 2 days where like somebody would tweet something and then a Trump official would be like on CNBC or Fox News, like basically talking back to that person through the airwaves, and then that person would tweet back again. The best was Elon going after Peter Navarro. Did you see anything about this?
No.
So Peter Navarro, do you know anything about this guy? He's the mastermind of the tariffs. Like he's wanted tariffs his whole life. Trump listens to him. He actually also authored the whole the election of 2020 and how they were going to have the kick it back to the states and all that. Like he put that all together. He ended up serving jail time for refusing to testify and give emails and stuff to the January 6th committee. He went to jail for a little while, and Trump ended up getting him out, I guess. Anyhow. He's in the White House. He is the man that believes in this. He also, hysterically, he's written like 13 books, and in like 5 of them, he quotes this economist named Ron Vara, that he says went to Harvard, was deployed to Iraq in like Operation Desert Storm, and this guy also loves tariffs. Turns out, and this is now confirmed, that Ron Vara is an anagram, is that what they call it? An anagram of Navarro's last name. I guess you rearrange the letters. Is that an anagram? Is that what that is? This guy's made up his shit. There is no Ron Vara. He includes quotes from this guy. Like, you either ride with the stock market or you get run over. Ron Vara. Like, weird stuff like that. Anyhow, so that right there is just hysterical on top of things. At one point, and I've only seen screenshots of this, so I don't know if what I saw was doctored or if it really happened, but Elon was going at him hard. Elon hates him. Let me start here. Elon said something about the tariffs not being good. They asked Navarro about it on like Fox Business, and Navarro said, "Well, Elon makes cars, so he's looking out for his interest." Well, he doesn't really make cars; he assembles cars. A lot of the parts are made overseas, and his battery's made in China, and that's why he doesn't like this. But like he assembles cars, he doesn't really make it. That was a shot at Elon. I didn't realize it was a shot, but Elon took that as a shot, and then Elon started calling him a moron and blah blah blah. It escalated. A day into this, apparently Elon started calling him Peter Retardo instead of Peter Navarro.
That's pretty
I
good.
don't know if that's true. I keep seeing screenshots of that, but I didn't see the actual tweet, so that might not be true. Anyhow, let me see here. Let's go to this because this is the last. I want to end. We're going to end on tariffs on 2 clips here. Check this one out real quick from CNBC.
How did we all get here? I mean, the whole debate is so fundamentally backwards and upside down. It's based on a fallacy. And the fallacy is this, that somehow in a trade, someone must lose. That somehow when you trade with someone, there's a loser and someone's taking advantage of you and China's ripping you off or Japan's ripping you off. It's absolutely a fallacy. Every trade that occurs in the marketplace is mutually beneficial. If you have a free society and I trade with you, if you want to sell me your coat and I give you $200 for it, we both agree to it and we're both happy with the trade. No American consumer trades with China. They trade with Walmart, or they may buy something from China, but they individually buy something they want and they make a decision. The trade is always a win-win. Now, you could artificially do this accounting between countries and say, oh, trade deficit, look at this trade deficit. But I have a trade deficit with my grocery store. The people who employ me, if I work for Corvette and they employ me, they have a trade deficit with my labor. They buy my labor and I never buy their cars. So you can have this artificial accounting and it makes it look like a bad thing, but you have to ask yourself, is trade good or bad? And if you look at the trade deficit, in times of a recession, the trade deficit goes down. So if the tariffs push us into a recession, we could reduce the trade deficit because we're all buying less stuff. We have to get back to the fundamentals of, is trade good or is trade bad?
I got to say, right there,
we're all buying less stuff.
I agree with everything Rand Paul said. This is another one of those moments where I get really mad when I find myself saying, damn it, Laura Loomer has a point here or whatever. I've been a little mad at Rand Paul. Not a lot, but a little mad at Rand Paul for a while. But I saw that clip and I was like, exactly, like that, 100%. And the point right there where he said, for some reason, we think there has to be a loser. Like, I don't think that's a we think thing. That is a Trump thinks thing. Like,
Yep.
like that, he truly believes someone is getting taken advantage of in a trade no matter what, and we need to be the one taking advantage of that person versus the one getting taken advantage of. It doesn't have to be that way at all. And just to drive the point home, and this is a quick one, but check this out real quick.
Before we get to that, did you see that? Did you hear that story about where Trump in one of his hotels in New York, like he went to a small business to buy two grand pianos, and the company brought the pianos, sent him the bill, and he paid him half and said, "That's all we're giving you."
That was his move apparently back in the day was he would have like contractors come in and install cabinets or flooring or whatever, and then once the work was done, he would try to negotiate the bill and be like, I'll give you half. Okay, I'll give you 60% or whatever. But like these small businesses, he'd end up telling them like, okay, take me to court then. And they didn't have the money to do that. So they'd end up
Yeah,
just settling on the half or the 60% or whatever it was. Like that was his move.
that's
So,
a complete dick move.
yeah, oh, yeah. So anyhow, check this out.
There is a trade. We already have a free trade agreement. We have a trade surplus. So getting the least bad, why did they get whacked in the first place?
We're addressing the $1.2 trillion deficit, the largest in human history that President Biden left us with. We should be running up the score in Australia.
Ambassador Greer, answer the question on Australia. We have a trade surplus with Australia. We have a free trade agreement. Why? They are an incredibly important national security partner. Why were they whacked with a tariff?
Senator, despite the agreement, they ban our beef, they ban our pork. They're getting ready to impose measures on our digital companies. It's incredible.
So
They ban our beef, they ban our pork.
well, and that we talked about the other night. It's because of the hormones and the shit we put in our livestock. But right there,
Our beef is not beautiful, Andy.
I love when he said our beef is beautiful, their beef is weak, or he says something like that. That was Lutnick. That guy's a moron. But right there, a key thing that guy said, because they pointed out Senator Warner, Mark Warner, I believe his name. He said, "Hey, we have a trade surplus with this country, so why are we hitting them?" And he said, "Well, we should be running up the score with them." I don't know if you caught that, but like that's the whole there should be a loser thing, and like
Yeah.
I might be a wimp, libtard, whatever you want to call it, but like I think it'd be awesome if we got along with most of the countries in the world. I think that'd be beneficial to us from a security and economic, from all kinds of different standpoints. If every country in the world liked America, I think that'd be good. And the thought that we should be running it up, we should be running up the score with our allies. Like if this was China, maybe you'd have my attention. But like Australia, who we have a trade surplus with, we should be running up the score on them. Like that's the problem with Trump's approach to trade right now is that like even if it's fair trade, he's not happy with that. Even if it's a good deal for us, it should be a better deal for us. That's how he feels about it.
Well, if you read any book on negotiations,
Even
it's
the
a
art of the
win-win.
deal.
You want a win-win. But besides the art of the deal, I've never read the art of the deal. Apparently, there's a whole chapter on how he's such a genius because he runs a casino, two casinos.
Yep, it's chapter 6, and then that went bankrupt like 2 years after the book came out. Yeah.
Yeah. No, if you read any other book about negotiating, it's you want a win-win. You want both sides to come out feeling like they got what they wanted, right?
Yep.
And yeah, he's just completely off on how he negotiates. He's made himself out to be this big negotiator. Like I'm the best negotiator ever. The art of the deal. I've bankrupted 12 businesses. I don't know.
Where he screwed up on this is if he had first of all taken some time and message to the public, get public what do they call it, public sentiment on your side. If he had said, "Hey, the way that China's treating us in trade, I can list all the reasons why it's not good. You know, for just them stealing our IP stuff, like they take our technology and all that, and there's nothing we can do about it. Like they just do it." So he could have made that argument, and then he could have gotten the rest of the world together and said, "Hey, let's take care of this China problem. They're not being fair in how they do trade," and that would have worked. And I think that would have had the whole country of America would have been on his side on that. Even Democrats would have been like, "Yeah, this is one of the good things he's doing."
Yeah.
Going after Australia and the European Union and all these other countries, like it makes no sense. Even the Penguins, like it makes no sense.
The Penguins. That makes me the maddest. Penguins.
Yep. So anyhow, I'm done with tariffs, I think, for tonight. I got a couple other quick things for you. The scariest thing, and real quick, I'd like to point out Signalgate, the whole, Pete Hegseth message, that's gone. Like our attention span is so short. I was thinking about this the other day. This was only 4 months ago, but 4 months ago, remember the drones over the East Coast?
Yeah.
We
Oh,
were
yeah.
we were all infatuated with that, and we never got an answer. Trump said he was going to give us an answer, and he at one time he said like, "Oh yeah, did we look into that? Oh yeah, it turns out it's fine, it's nothing, you're good." And like everybody just dropped that. Okay, so our
Well,
attention
they didn't
span,
drop it. The news is just
yeah,
bombarded when Trump's in office. It's just a bombardment of shit. You can't like stay on anything for
dude.
more than five
I'm just
minutes.
saying the drones were heavy in everybody's lives, and when I just said to you, "Remember the drones?" You got to take a second, and go drones. Oh yeah,
Uh,
like that's where we're at. So Signalgate
uh,
is long gone. Like the fact that we kind of remember it's amazing. This is the next. I hope that somebody takes notice and this becomes a thing. I don't care if it's with maybe the courts. I don't know if they can challenge it, but today that Trump Oval Office thing that you saw a video of a minute ago with him, talking about trade. What he was there doing was signing some more executive orders. Two of them are a problem just for the First Amendment or the Constitution. But the president is supposed to be pretty much walled off from the Department of Justice. There's always speculation that he maybe did like a, hey, you need to look into this guy, but like that's supposed to be wrong, and nobody would ever admit to that. Today,
right.
Trump signed two executive orders today. The first one was going after a guy named Chris Krebs. Chris Krebs was the cybersecurity expert for the government. Trump put him in place. Okay, this is leading up to the 2020 election. He was there to make sure that no foreign actors got involved. Everything having to do with cybersecurity was under him. Okay, he came out after the election and said, "Hey, we've looked at everything. This was the safest election there could have been as far as cybersecurity goes." And then he had to testify in front of the Congress, I think during Trump's impeachment, and then again during January 6th, he testified. He's a Republican. He just said, "Hey, as far as somebody hacking our election, that did not happen. Like we were all over it. It did not happen." Trump had his security clearances all removed, which I really don't have a problem with. If he's out of government, he shouldn't have them anyway. But part of the executive order is he's directing the Department of Justice to investigate him. That's not like we think he said. It's written in executive order that he's directing the Department of Justice to investigate him. Okay. The second guy, his name is Miles Taylor, and he actually wrote a book about his time in the White House. He also is the guy. Remember, there was an op-ed during the first Trump term, and nobody could figure out who wrote it. It was someone who was like, I am high level in the White House. I'm around Trump," and they were kind of spilling the beans on how chaotic it was. And everybody thought it was either Mike Pence or Kellyanne Conway that wrote it. It turned out it was this guy Miles Taylor, who we'd never heard of, but he was right there in the thick of things, and he wrote that op-ed. He had his security clearances removed and also directed the Department of Justice to go after him for treason, okay, because of the book he wrote.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So also, let's just to paint the backdrop here. Trump's gone after all these law firms. Like, I had to read about this, but apparently there's only a handful of law firms. Like if you get in trouble with the government and it has anything to do with security clearances, there's only like 4 or 5 that you could really go to defend you because they have security clearances. They're allowed to see the underlying. So there's a couple of them in DC that do that. Trump has now made deals with all of them, and he basically went after them for defending James Comey or whoever it was, somebody he didn't like, and he made them volunteer to give him $100 million worth of legal fees and all kinds of other stuff. So both of these two, if they need to hire a lawyer right now because of the Department of Justice coming after them, good luck. The ones you would go to that are the ones that specialize in this kind of thing are not going to defend you because they already have a deal with Trump and they're not going to do it. So when you look back at why was he doing this with all these law firms? Because now he can go after anybody, and there's really no good law firm to defend them. He'll find some lawyer somewhere, but it won't be the ones that you would normally get in DC that know how to do this, argue constitutional law. So the First Amendment.
My biggest fear is that this becomes the norm. Like the next, I don't think any Democrat would actually do it, but I feel like if a let's just say JD Vance gets in there, like he just keeps doing these skeezy things to where he can just do whatever he wants, and the Republicans just keep going and going, and we're just a dictatorship at that point, right?
Trump just signed 2 executive orders officially telling the Justice Department to go after these people. There's a whole what is it called? It's like here's the defendant, now go find the crime. Like that's people bring that up in court all the time. You're not supposed to do that. That's literally what he just wrote it down on paper. Here's the defendant, investigate them until you find something they did wrong. Like that's pretty much where
Yeah.
we're at. He did it with two people, and like everything else Trump does, this is his trial balloon. Is this going to get challenged? Is this going to be a big deal? If not, these are not the last two this is going to happen to. And whoever says they're running against the 2028 candidate, he will sign an executive order to investigate them as well. Like,
Oh yeah.
this almost has to be challenged, and I don't know what the right remedy is for it though. Like the right remedy would be Pam Bondi coming out, the attorney general, and saying, "Hey, I don't take directives on who to investigate from anybody. Everything we do is bipartisan." That's not going to happen. Like that's what needs to happen immediately. She's not going to do that. That's wishful thinking. So, can he sue for that? Can either of these guys preemptively go after the White House and sue for? I don't know. I don't know what they could possibly
But
do.
who's going to be their lawyer?
Correct. And the remedy would be Congress would step in and say, "Hey, you can't do that, sir," and then potentially, do. I don't know if it'd go to impeachment, but something. Congress needs to step in here. That's just scary for a whole host of reasons. So the president, like I said, this isn't like a we think he said. It's an executive order telling them to investigate these two because he doesn't like them. That's like of all the things that have happened so far, that's the one where I'm like, oh, that's bad. Like that's not good. And
well, the fact that he's like blackmailed all the law firms that could actually, how many law firms has he blackmailed or went after or just threatened? Like,
I think he's made deals with 4 of them.
Okay.
And like I said, there's only a handful of them that can do this kind of work. So I don't know if he's gotten all of them yet or not.
That's so sad that our system is so fragile where the law firms are just like, no, okay.
That's what's really weird here is our system was set up in a good way to prevent this from happening. Like it really was. If you were trying to prevent this, the system of checks and balances between the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature, like they're all supposed to have checks and balances over each other to prevent this from happening. What they never thought is that one group, I'm going to say the Congress, would just totally be subservient to the other, and then the courts are also just kind of like, we're going to stay out of this. Like they kind of.
Seems like the lower courts are kind of like are fighting against Trump pretty good.
The Supreme Court's where the problem is, which I didn't research this a whole lot, but Trump and Caroline Leavitt were taking a victory lap about the deportation flights, the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, whatever it was. The Supreme Court did say, hey, you don't have standing to do it here. This case needs to be in Texas. And they put a delay. The judge had ordered that one Maryland father to be back by midnight that night, and they put a stay on that. They just said, we need to stay. We need to figure out more about this. This is too rushed. I get it, but either way, but what they said is no, everybody is, and this is like lower in the opinion, and the White House just glossed over this, but they said no, everybody you're kicking out has due process, so all these people need to be going in front of a judge. So that was the actual ruling. If you listen to the Trump White House talk about it, like, oh, they're totally on our side. We were right all along. We can keep doing this. No, that's not what it says. Anyhow, our First Amendment's in trouble, and right now. That one guy, they said that they asked Trump why he was going after Krebs, and he said that he hurt my First Amendment right to talk about the 2020 election being stolen because he was out there telling everybody that it wasn't stolen cybersecurity wise. Like, so that was a violation of my First Amendment right. Oh. That was what he's basically saying. So, and in that executive order, it also says on paper that Trump, this is Trump, but he said that because he clearly won the 2020 election and it was rigged and this and that. That's part of the executive order that got signed today.
He's still going with that?
He is. Anyhow, so that's the scariest thing happening at the moment. It's probably, in a week we'll forget about it, but right now that's kind of a big deal. Let's talk some RFK though. Have you seen it? Have you seen anything about RFK? I feel like he's really under the radar with everything else going on.
I know the last I heard he like went to Texas because the second person died of the measles. I think, did we talk about that last time or did we?
We did.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he was last
I heard of RFK.
He was going to their funeral. In fact, we'll get to measles in a second. He did. I'll say this. He officially, like the government officially recommended that cities not put fluoride in their water. I don't know. I've seen kind of back and forth. I've seen some things that say, no, the fluoride's quite good. I've seen other things that say mainly what I've seen is if the levels are too high, it can be a problem. And there are
Sure.
some cities where they found that the levels are too high. So
It's good for your teeth.
yeah, is it necessary? I don't really know. But he did
No.
that.
No. So apparently, I forget what we were making, but a long time ago we were making something, and the byproduct was fluoride, and they didn't really know what to do with it, and they were like, just put it in the water. And so just to
That's,
get rid of it, they started like adding it to the water.
I think I heard that on Rogan back in the day.
That could have been it. That could have
Yeah.
where I heard it.
But he so there's $11 billion in cuts going on at DH or at HHS, all the different, cancer research and all that we've heard about. Watch this real quick from CBS.
Kennedy has facilitated sweeping cuts for programs and staffers alike. You proposed more than $11 billion in cuts to local and state programs addressing things like infectious disease, mental health, addiction, and childhood vaccination. Did you personally approve those cuts?
I'm not familiar with those cuts. We'd have to go.
There's like more than 50 pages of cuts that I actually went through.
The cuts were mainly DEI cuts, which the president.
There were a lot, but I'll give you, for example, about $750,000 of a University of Michigan grant into adolescent diabetes was cut. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, and that's.
He didn't know that.
So he doesn't know what cuts were being made, and I guess it was Doge making the cuts. But you're the head of HHS. They're canceling all this different funding for research of cancer and what would they say, adolescent diabetes, I think was what they just said. Like, he has no clue about any of that. So
I don't think, I've always kind of thought that RFK was he just wants the power. He just wants that position. And I don't think he wants to do the work.
I think you might be right. I sadly think you might be right on that. So
yeah,
the only other big news here, listen to what he had to say about the MMR vaccine.
It's one thing to say the measles vaccine is the best way of preventing spread, but it's another thing to then say, and therefore, we suggest that you get the measles vaccine.
We encourage people to get the measles vaccine.
Okay, so I think that's actually the next step, and that's news as far as I'm concerned, that you're saying that. What's the position philosophically of the federal government in terms of public health?
The federal government's position, my position is people should get the measles vaccine, but the government should not be mandating.
Understand,
those. No, I've always said during my campaign and every public statement I've made, I'm not going to take people's vaccines away from them. What I'm going to do is make sure that we have good science so that people can make an informed choice.
So is there going to be a war with Maha now? Because he keeps claiming like, no, I've never said that I'm anti-vaccine. I've never said that. But there's all kinds of video of him specifically talking about the MMR vaccine and how harmful it is and how he wishes if he had to do it all over again, he wouldn't give it to his kids. Now he's saying that, yes, I recommend you take the MMR vaccine. So I'm glad this is one of those where it's like, take the win, just take the win. But no, where are the Maha people? Like, is this going to be upsetting to them, or are they going to listen? And maybe the best case scenario is that they go, "Oh shit! Like he's changed his tune. We should probably."
I don't think they're paying attention. I don't think the Maha people are actually paying too much attention to what he's doing or saying anymore. I think he got his like. They were like, "Oh yeah, RFK is doing this, and he's going to do that, and vaccines are bad," and then that all fell off, but they're still in the back of their mind. They're still like, yeah, RFK is the best, but they're not paying attention.
I think you might be right. So sad.
This is life.
All right. And then this wasn't my last topic, but it's on to my left. Have you seen Bernie had a town hall tonight on CNN? Did you get to see any clips of that?
No, I didn't.
Hopefully you'll be able to find it on YouTube or something. But it's funny. I have it recorded and I haven't watched the whole thing, but I got about 10 minutes to watch it in the middle. And when you went to the Bernie rally, I ended up finding that on YouTube and watching it. And at one point, my wife walked into the room. For the record, my wife is way more liberal than I am. Like when we first got together, she was the liberal and I was the Republican. And anyhow, she walked in and she was like, she kind of gave it like a Bernie, like why are you watching Bernie? And I was telling her, I was like, if you watch this, like, I think you would find that a lot of what he says is, pretty agreeable. Now, how are we going to do it? That's one thing. But like the message you can't have a problem with. And she kind of didn't. She kind of walked out of the room. She wasn't blowing me off, but she kind of was. And then tonight it was on, and she actually stopped and sat down and watched. And he was talking about politicians and healthcare and all kinds. And it was funny because she kind of would stop and ask me a question, and I was like, "Oh, Bernie's getting through to her." So I really think that if everybody just listen to Bernie talk, watch the CNN thing, and like again, a lot of it's how are we going to pay for that? I totally get that question. That's my first question, but also like he kind of gets you riled up where it's like, yeah, like these billionaires on the left and the right are totally buying elections, and like their voice is more heard than others, and it's not one person, one vote. And why are we the richest country in the world when 60 million people are going broke from health insurance or whatever? You kind of you can't help but just be like, yeah. And
Bernie's fair. He is like a fair-minded individual. Like he's calling the left and the right out on all this stuff.
The more I listen to him, the more I'm really enjoying him. Now, I'll still say I don't know if I'd vote for him to be president, but I love the message he's putting out right now. So
Well, if you love his message, then why wouldn't you vote for him? That's the thing.
well, at this point, I wouldn't because he's so old. I'm not. I've hit a point where I'm not voting for anybody. I'm sick and tired of Biden and Trump. That's the thing is,
Yeah, but if he was in his 40s or 50s, like you would totally vote for him.
I've seen videos of him when he was like in his 50s, and he seemed crazy back then. So I don't think I would have. I think honestly, the sweet spot for Bernie was like 2016, and he got screwed out of that. His message is good. He needs to find somebody younger than him and teach them exactly how to be him. That's what we need.
He's doing that with AOC.
He's trying. She's not as naturally good at it as him. Which I don't dislike AOC, but when I watched her and Bernie speak at that rally, like when he's saying it, you believe him and he's saying it with passion. When she's saying it, it's like she's reading off a scripted, she's reading a teleprompter. Like she kind of doesn't believe it as much as he does. That's the way I take it. So anyhow, last order of business. There is one department in the government that is notoriously bad with cash. They failed 7 straight audits. Money goes missing there all the time. What's that?
The Department of Defense.
Yes, and if you really wanted to find some waste, fraud, and abuse in our government, everybody on the left and the right says the Defense Department. That's the place you would start. It's the one place that Doge really just hasn't gone to. Like they're not looking.
They're never going to. Nobody ever wants to cut the Department of Defense for some reason. It always goes up, never goes down.
Well, for some reason,
Martin paying people to do nothing.
I was gonna say, for some reason, is what do they call it? The military industrial complex. Like that's, I think the left and the right both is aware of that, and like they're just as bad as AIPAC. Like really, when you look at who's running Congress, like AIPAC and the industrial military complex, like we need to keep selling you bombs. So if you're gonna get out of Ukraine, can you find a new country to bomb? Oh, cool, Yemen will work. Just keep buying our bombs. Like that's where it's at, and that's what Thomas Massey, who said that right before we started bombing the Houthis. He said that on Twitter. He said, if we're really getting out of Ukraine, keep your eye out because we're gonna find some new country to start bombing. And like a week later, it was the Houthis, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. Anyhow, Trump, have you heard about what he wants to do for his birthday this year? What he's doing for his what do they call it on MTV, the Super Sweet 16?
Oh yeah.
What is Trump doing? Have you heard about this?
Wait, are you talking about South Park?
No, sorry. The South Park episode with the devil having a super sweet 16. That was a great episode. But there really was a show. That South Park episode was making fun of a show on MTV that was like My Super Sweet 16. And it was all these spoiled brat girls. Anyhow, Trump is having his 80th, I think. I'm not positive. I think it's his 80th birthday party, and it's June. It's June or July 14th. Whatever day.
And Shay from China. His birthday's from China. His birthday's like the day after Trump's or something.
I did not know that. I did not.
So when he was talking about how they're so grandiose that they may just come together around that birthday time and like get rid of the tariffs.
I'll say this: what Trump wants to do for his birthday, I'm sure he'd love for Xi to come, but I don't think she's gonna. But Trump's birthday is also Flag Day, which Flag Day is the anniversary of the day that we like agreed upon our flag or something. I read a little bit about this, but whatever day we officially said this is going to be the stars and bars, the 13 colonies or the 13 stars. Yeah. That's what Flag Day is, and that is also Trump's birthday. So to celebrate both of them, he's going to have a joint party for Flag Day and for his birthday, and he wants to have a 4-mile-long military parade. Think old Soviet Union, like parading the missiles and the tanks down the middle of the street while the president sits there. So that's what we're doing. It's going to
China, North Korea, not China, North Korea.
Yep.
Russia. This is the things that they do. This is what Hitler used to do. Remember,
Trump wanted to do this his first term. Like he really, and they convinced him apparently that like, hey, we can't have the tanks rolling in DC because the streets are apparently a lot of the streets there are like brick or cobblestone or whatever, and the tanks would destroy the streets, and that was the reasoning
Yeah.
they gave him. So apparently they're not going to do it right in front of the White House like he wants to. They're going to do it somewhere else, and it's going to have flyovers, helicopters, jets, B-2 stealth bomber. I'm sure I'm making that up, but I'm sure that'll be part of it. It's going to cost 92 billion or 92 billion, I think is what they said it's going to be.
What?
Maybe it was 92 million. I could be. I'm gonna say 92 million because I can't remember. But
Okay.
the good news is because you think, oh man, like the military budget, like we need to be cutting that, right? I mean, if we're gonna lower the budget to make room for these tax cuts, we're cutting the military budget, right?
Yep.
You would think so. All right, let's see what Trump has to say about that.
Essentially approved a budget which is in the facility, you'll like to hear this, of $1 trillion, $1 trillion, and nobody's seen anything like it. We have to build our military, and we're very cost conscious, but the military is something that we have to build, and we have to be strong because you got a lot of bad forces out there now. So we're going to be approving a budget, and I'm proud to say, actually, the biggest one we've ever done for the military.
So
$1 trillion?
So just like Trump's first term, he kept saying he was going to cut spending, but then every time he would sign a budget, it was bigger than the one before, and he kept increasing military spending. I remember in 2018, he did 806 billion for military spending, which was a big jump from where it was, and everybody thought that was outrageous. Apparently, when he left office, it was like 848 billion, and then Biden kept it at those levels for all of Biden's years. That military just stayed at like it's just under 850 billion. We're raising it 150 billion more to $1 trillion. No audit. We're still not going to have Doge go in there. We're not going to, they failed 7 audits in a row. We don't care. We are going to do $1 trillion. And we're going to do the tax cuts. So I can't wait to see what this budget looks like because it's going to add, I thought at first they were saying that if he does his tax cuts, it's going to add 4 trillion to the deficit is what they were saying. And then they said, oh, Elon's going to find 2 trillion in waste. And the other 2 trillion was going to be made up through like the economy being better. So they had some formula to where that was really going to even out. But like also they're raising the defense spending to $1 trillion. Like I'm confused. And right now, I don't know if you saw, there was supposed to be a vote tonight on so the House passed a budget rules package a month ago. Apparently the Senate passed one that is vastly different, and now they have to marry the two together. And today, the House was supposed to vote on the Senate's budget rules package, which basically just gives the top line numbers. We're going to give this much to this department, and then later they figure out where it's all going to actually go. And they didn't have the votes, and apparently everybody thought it would be the moderate Republicans that don't want to hurt Social Security or Medicaid. Those would be the ones that would be hard to vote on this. Apparently, they were all ready to vote. They were going to vote for it. It was the far right Freedom Caucus, and they hate the Senate's bill because it doesn't cut spending hardly at all. Like it really doesn't. And they've been telling their people that no, we are going to look. We should not run a deficit. Whatever we can afford to do is what we get to do. We shouldn't at all go over our budget on this. And they mean that shit. So Trump started trying to twist some arms last night, and then today, and then apparently this afternoon they were all in a room where Trump was like on speakerphone berating them, trying to get them to vote for this bill. And the vote kept getting pushed, and it was supposed to happen at like 7 o'clock tonight. And right before it was supposed to happen, Speaker Johnson pulled it from the floor because he didn't convince the Freedom Caucus to go for it. So that's where we're at right now. Is the Senate, which I don't like the idea of running up the deficit, but apparently the Senate bill kind of restores a lot of money that Doge had taken away, like cancer funding and stuff like that. Like that, the Senate's trying to put all that back in, and the Freedom Caucus is like, no, like we don't have the money for this shit, so we're not doing it. So that's the current battle. But I'll guarantee you, of all the things that are going to get cut, it's not going to get cut.
Military.
$1 trillion military budget. That's staying. I guarantee you.
It's almost like our president has bankrupted 7 countries already.
Yeah, they're saying
7 companies.
I don't buy this for a second, but I would give Trump mad props if he does this. But they keep saying, and they were even saying it tonight, that part of this budget bill, they might raise taxes on anybody making more than $1 million a year to cover for the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and all that. So they might raise taxes on the poor, which I would be all for it. I think every Democrat would be for that. Like if he does that, it'll pass both houses, by the House and the Senate, with flying colors. Like everybody will vote for it. I think they're just saying that right now. I don't think there's any way it actually happens, but that's what they're saying.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do shit.
Yeah. So I'm out of stuff. There's so much that's happening right now that
I
I had to
know.
wean us down to that.
At least the tariffs, most of the tariffs are off for now.
10% on every country, 25% on pharmaceuticals, 125% on China. And that analogy that I tried to use earlier that I probably cut out, the cut off your Johnson versus cut off your thumb. Like we're all so happy to just have 10% tariffs. Like it's like, oh, thank God. 10% we can do. Whereas if he had just tried to do 10% tariffs up front, we would have lost our mind about it. But because he went nuclear and now he's scaling it back to 10%, we're all like, whew, just 10. Okay, I can make 10% work. That's fine. So good tactic on his part.
What time does the Shanghai stock market open?
Oh, I'm gonna guess in 2 hours. Like 2 hours ago, was it 3 hours ago? They said it was 5 a.m. In China, so it's got to be like close to 8 a.m. now.
Okay.
So
Get
we'll see what
okay.
happens. Again, I think it'd be awesome if she and Donald worked stuff out. I think neither one of them wants to be seen as the one that gave in to the other, which is the one reason I think this is going to go on for a while. Like the whole thought of a win-win negotiation, neither of them like that idea.
No, no.
They want to be able to go back and tell their people that they got the better of the
They're
other.
so goofy, man. These leaders, dude, I don't understand what it is with these dictatorial leaders. They have a
It makes sense when you think about this. Like, who really wants to be president or leader of a country? Someone who's power hungry. Like that's
yeah,
the kind of person that rises through politics to become president. Like
yeah.
someone who's more like even-headed and wouldn't do this crazy stuff doesn't want to be president and would never backstab enough people to get to where they are. Like it's just
That's true. How do we get rid of the presidency then?
I don't know.
It is a bad system. You're right. It is a horrible system.
Yeah. We
Oh,
incentivize you being a politician. I can't even think of a better way to say it, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we have. And we need to, yeah. I feel like
Yep.
yeah, our system's really bad because even the like politicians like the Senate and the House, like they're power hungry people too.
Joe Rogan used to talk about all the time about how there shouldn't be one guy making all. There should be a council. Like there should be
Yeah.
13. There was a Knights Round Table or whatever with 13 people like that need to come up with an agreement on this. Like I'm almost down to give that a shot at this point because like our every election, all of America looks at each other and goes, "Really? Like these are our two candidates? Like there's nobody better." But those are the kind of people that want to be president. Mark Cuban keeps telling everybody he doesn't want to be president, which makes me think he'd probably be a really good president because he doesn't want the power and responsibility. But at the
Right.
same time, he's not going to do it.
Ah, that's a bummer. It's a
Yeah.
bummer. Yeah. Yeah, we should have to make like I wouldn't say every citizen because there's some people out there that would be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But like yeah, like a big round table of people and rotate them in every few months or whatever.
Yeah.
Rotate stuff in.
God, that'd be
I don't know
scary.
how you would get bills written and passed, but I don't know.
So you'd still have to elect people to the round table if this were to really happen, and then you'd have 13 Trumps yelling at each other across the table, and nothing would get done. So that's what
Yeah.
we'd have.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
guess there's no good way to run a country.
it's tough. I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe we should just follow the laws of Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just all agree to live by that code.
Okay.
So all you gays can't get married. That's where
No,
it's at.
that's not a Jesus rule.
Didn't he say? I don't know. I think he said a man shall. He said Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. That's in the Bible.
I
I think it is. So
think it's like a man shall not lie with another man.
that
But
is the only time it says that. Yes.
yeah, and that could mean way more things than just that. I think
Like two
interpretation of that could
like
be
two men shouldn't be fibbing. Two men telling a lie.
pivot.
It's telling a
Oh yeah.
lie. That's
Yeah.
what he meant. That's what. Yeah. They just we misinterpreted it.
Yeah. I mean that thou shalt not lie is one of the Ten Commandments, right?
Yep. And a man shall not lie with another man. If two men get together and start lying, it's even
Yeah.
worse. That's double
Yeah.
sin.
As long as yeah.
I think we just cracked the code of the Bible.
I think we did. We should have to spread the word, Andy.
Spread's a good word. So, all right. Have a good night, brother.
You too. Late.
Later.
Sometimes you eat the bar, sometimes the bar eats you.